Hey guys, welcome back for another Creators Chat Q&A. This time we've got the question of how do you balance practicing and working? So practicing versus executing pieces. And this is one that I think we all run into.
Yes, there's just not enough time in the day.
Yeah, like aside from the time that you're spending, say, maybe like early days in art school, where literally 100% of your time is spent practicing, where everything is practice, you don't really have that freedom ever again. You don't ever go through phases where it is 100% practice or 100% execution, hopefully. But I guess it does happen. Yeah, it's definitely something that, I've struggled with a lot, that it's easy when you are working professionally to switch over to focusing on creating, because that's your day job, that's what pays the bills, and that's what people like seeing. They don't even really necessarily like seeing practice work, because sometimes it's not as good, sometimes you're struggling because you're tackling subjects you've never done before. Like if I was to start painting animals, like everyone would be like, oh God, make it stop. I don't want to see this anymore because he's really bad at these.
I thought you could paint, dude.
No, not anymore. Give me an animal and I can't do anything.
I like your animals.
Only my imaginative ones, because they're kind of cute. So yeah, it's definitely something that's the problem. But at the same time, if you do that, if you focus so much on just executing pieces, you don't grow. And this is something I see all the time with people, is that they're able to do something, whether that's something really good or something pretty good, or even something really bad, and they don't practice and they just stagnate. And I've seen this all the time, is that people sort of like cap out at a certain level and they just never go beyond that. And it's a real problem, because if you aren't consciously making the time to practice, you do stagnate your skills, and I think it's a huge problem. So for me, I have usually gone through times where I've realized that for too long I haven't practiced. For too long I've just focused on making work, whether that's personal work or freelance work or whatever else. I've neglected my practicing, and I've neglected doing studies and all that sort of stuff in favor of just finishing pieces, because you can feel kind of guilty for not finishing pieces. You can feel like, well, am I just wasting my time? Shouldn't I be finishing something? Shouldn't I be working on my projects, doing all that? Why am I doing the study of something that, isn't really making me money in any way? And this is something I know you've struggled with too, of finding that sort of balance.
Yes, I ran into this problem. We actually spoke about this in the video we just did, of having studied too much, almost actually. So this is, well, stay with me. I'm going to explain this. This is connected. I spent a whole year just studying. I don't think I did anything imaginative, not even like, I don't think I was even sketchbook doodling, and just everything I did was from reference or life or something like that. And I really needed to go through that phase, honestly, because my work was suffering. I needed to do the study, and I'm glad I did it. But I hit a point where I came to do imaginative work, and my imaginative skills were so far behind everything else I was doing. But I didn't want to go through a phase where I was like just doing imaginative work and just sucking. I wanted to keep studying. I wanted to keep finding ways of working both at the same time. I didn't want to be doing one or the other.
Right.
And the idea of just doing really bad imaginative work for a year while not doing any studies was just killing me. I was like, I can't do that. It's going to hold me back so much. So I had to find ways to incorporate studies and imaginative work at the same time. And actually, I kind of found myself, you were always saying to me, do more studies. And I was like, but I've got so much that I need to do as well as studies. So I'd be doing my imaginative work, and I actually found myself kind of studying as part of my imaginative work. I would know there were things that I could kind of do, and I would make sure to lean on them as much as possible. So I would try not to just do completely new things every time I painted. But I would find myself returning to the sort of these crutches and basing the kind of skeleton of my work on these things I knew I could do, but making sure I incorporated new things into it, like making sure I had a ton of reference, making sure I took my time with it. So I actually found that I could kind of cut corners a little bit. I wouldn't advise people to do that all the time, but if you're really up
Yeah.
against it and you have to be producing imaginative work and you have to be working for clients, there are ways of getting that practice into your work.
Yeah.
As long as the whole thing isn't like an experiment piece,
Yeah.
which might upset the client slightly. If you are finding ways to incorporate these, like you said before, like in kind of finding fulfillment in your work, like making something in your work, like I'm going to make sure this hand is amazing. Like
Right.
I can't paint hands, but I'm going to throw myself into painting this hand, and this painting
Yeah.
is going to be a damn good hand.
Right.
I've done that with pretty much all of my imaginative paintings for about the last year and a half.
Yeah.
I just threw myself into making sure that I was incorporating something new into my paintings each time and
Yeah.
doing studies on the fly, basically.
Yeah.
And that worked kind of well for me when I felt I didn't have enough time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great strategy. That's what I did last year when I was doing some work with foliage, is that I'd done tons of landscape paintings, but for whatever reason had neglected my foliage skills
Avoid the
entirely.
leaves.
But I wanted to keep producing some finished pieces because I also hadn't produced many finished pieces for a while for myself. And so what I did was I set the challenge of, all right, I'm going to do a new piece, and it's going to have some comfort zone stuff in it, but it's going to also push me in this new direction. And it's going to be a challenge. It's going to take a while, but I'm going to learn this new skill at the same time. So if you can combine those, I think it works great.
And now you kick ass at foliage.
Right. Well, I mean, it's okay. So yeah, I think that's sort of the answer to it, is that if you can combine it, that's great, but make sure that you are getting a good balance of the two. Don't go too far to either extreme, because you're going to end up really miserable and either stagnating or hating yourself and never producing anything. So yeah, try to find a balance, and where that is going to be entirely dependent on the person.
Yeah, and
there's no
what they're going through in
universal.
life
Yeah, there's no
changes.
universal answer to that.
Yeah, we all go through phases. So
So yeah. Hey guys.